everybody. Alan from Eventide here with the one and only Dweezil Zappa.
Hello.
Hello. Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
We're here at the Brooklyn Bowl in Brooklyn, New York.
That's right. We're going to play a show and maybe do some bowling too.
You completely changed your guitar playing style.
Yeah.
You want to talk a little about that?
Sure. I mean, what I did was when I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do with the Zappa Plays Zappa thing, I knew I wanted to learn some of the hardest melodies that were written in my dad's music, but most of that stuff was written for other instruments, not on guitar. Well, some people did play it on guitar in some of his bands. Steve Vai played a lot of hard parts, and Mike Keneally played some parts. There were other things that still had never been played on guitar, so I wanted to try to play some of those things. And in trying to learn those things, I realized it couldn't be done with a traditional, just alternate picking kind of approach. So I had to learn a whole new style of picking, which was, it's generally called economy picking or sweep picking. But it's not so you can do like crazy arpeggios. It's really just so that you can get to some other intervallic things on the guitar with a more fluid motion. But beyond that, I also had to start developing like hybrid picking, and really that became this whole approach to playing to learn the hard parts. But then it became a whole new vocabulary that I could develop for improv situations, so that I'm not just using the same bag of tricks. My dad, while he wasn't a very technically minded player, he seemed to have endless ideas, and that's why he could improvise for a great length of time without repeating anything, because he was a drummer first, and then he would just apply that to guitar. So all of that over a period of the last sort of decade has drastically changed what I can do on guitar. I mean, I can do things I never thought of doing or even thought were possible 10 years ago. So, and that led me to doing my guitar camp thing, the Dweezil thing. So a lot of people are interested in some of the approach that's developed over this time. So anybody that is curious, come on out to Dweezil.
And where's the best place to find more information about that?
All information that you have for me or Zappa Plays Zappa or the Dweezil Camp, anybody should just go to DweezilZappaWorld.com.
DweezilZappaWorld.com.
Yep.
Awesome. Mm-hmm. Speaking about your dad, I know that he was an early adopter of Eventide stuff.
Yeah.
He owned one of the first harmonizers, which was the 910.
Yeah.
That's going back almost 40 years.
It's crazy. He put that in his guitar rig back in the day. The thing that was crazy was that his setup was based around the fact that his guitars had these extreme amounts of gain, and they had these preamps in it. So he basically brought his guitar up to line level so that he could use all of these studio equipment things like the Eventide or other studio compressors in a guitar rig long before anybody was building these like refrigerator sized guitar rigs. But to bridge the gap between the level discrepancy and the noise issues,
right,
that's what he did. It was he added these preamps to his guitar, and then that went on to even adding EQs and other things, studio style EQs in his guitar, parametric equalizers.
That just goes to show the amount of creativity.
Yeah, his whole process was, if something sounds good, he wanted to use it.
Yeah.
And he found a way to do that. So the production on his records shows that he took that path all the time. There were so many unique sounds that were created, even to the point where he might have done experimental things with the use of a tape machine to change the range of an instrument, which essentially created an instrument that didn't exist. So like taking a horn, but recording at a certain speed that when you play the tape back and the recording was played at normal speed, the instrument was now in a range it could never reach.
Right.
So you had the timbre of this instrument, but it was a completely new thing because it couldn't actually be played in the real physical world. So like inventing sounds was just something that he was into all the time anyway.
And it created quite a challenge for you doing Zappa Plays Zappa.
Oh yeah.
Trying to create all these different sounds from, different periods of technology.
The different eras of his playing, different eras of technology, his approach was always pretty unique because he would split his signal sometimes 3 or 4 times. It might go to 3 or 4 different amps plus a direct sound. And so to create these very three-dimensional guitar sounds, that's problematic. Some people would just not choose to try to recreate that and just say, well, I'm just going to plug into what I play through anyway. But for me, the sound of the record is as much a part of the song as anything else. So I really try to create sounds that are as close to the sounds from the record as I can, so that it's just more evocative of the era. But it's also a fun exercise to learn more about what he was doing or what's possible. There's a lot of cool sounds.
Yeah, for sure. And, we were really excited to hear about your integration of some of our pedals into your rig. And you have a pretty complex and impressive guitar rig that you're using.
Yeah, it's definitely a flexible system that uses a lot of different kinds of equipment, but the Eventides have a very specific sound, and that's the reason that they have to be utilized in the rig. Is if I want certain kinds of reverbs or certain kinds of delays, the algorithms in the Eventide box just has that sound. I can get similar sounds, but not the sound that I know is possible in the Eventide box. My setup is designed around using 3 of the H9s because I have a kind of kooky setup where I use 2 stereo devices, 2 axe effects, and they're basically autonomous. So I have this discrete signal path for one machine and another one for the other. Mm-hmm. And the top machine has 2 H9s in the loop, and then the bottom one has 1 H9 in the loop. So I'm able to not use up a massive amount of DSP in the fractal for certain presets, like adding reverbs and other delays and things within a preset there. I can use those sounds from within the H9 instead. And it's also a totally different algorithm, so it sounds different. It's the equivalent of being in a recording studio and using all kinds of outboard gear and really choosing what works best to make the sound really effective and exciting. A lot of what makes me inspired to play is the sound itself, and being able to have the flexibility to change it and have really interesting audio images with the sound is kind of my, it's almost more sound sculpture type of work.
When I saw you perform last, it was one of the first times, maybe the first time you played Watermelon and Easter Hay.
Yeah. On that tour, I was doing that song and also The Torture Never Stops. And both of those, I was using that dynamic reverb, that has that compressor that expands the reverb when you're not playing. It brings it swells it up. So if you get the right kind of threshold for that and you're playing certain notes, especially with a cleaner sound, it creates an atmosphere that is just so cool, and it's the kind of sound that you want to just play on all day. really special sound on the record. So it was to create it in a live situation to where it would be evocative of the same thing was a challenge, and really the Eventide was what made the difference.
That's great to hear. That warms my heart.
Yes,
That's awesome. Because I know that's a really special song.
for me, and the fans too.
Yeah.
It's fun to document historical sounds and recreate them, but it's also fun to try to create some brand new things that haven't been heard before. And so that's kind of like my next step with my own music is to make some sounds that the sounds themselves become the song, like very specific sounds that are generated within the guitar riff itself. So I'm just trying to find enough time to get into the laboratory and make that stuff happen.
Awesome. You're such an inspiration.
Oh, I appreciate it. Thanks.
Continually improving your own playing, improving your rig. Just totally inspirational. Thank you so much for talking to us.
No problem. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Let's go see Zappa Plays Zappa.
Do it.
Dweezil!